Hey everybody, I'm Daniel Kirk. I'm an author and illustrator of books for children. I've illustrated over 35 books, written them too, but the books I've been doing the last couple of years are mostly about a little character named Sam who's a library mouse. So I figured I'd talk to you about my library mouse books. I got the idea for writing a library mouse book when I was in a library, a school library, during a school visit in New Jersey, here where I live. And it was the end of the day, and the librarian was sitting at her desk going through some of her paperwork, and I was sitting nearby autographing some books that they'd asked me to sign. And suddenly the librarian jumped up out of her seat, and she goes, "Oh, what's that over there? Look, did you see what I saw?" And I looked to see what she saw. I didn't see anything. I got down on my hands and knees even. She said, "There's a mouse down there. There's a mouse in my library. He's been gnawing on the papers on my desk here, and he's been going through the trash and making an awful mess of my place. I can't have a mouse in my library. I'm going to have to call the janitor and have him taken care of." So I thought to myself, how sad that is. And if I were a mouse, I wouldn't be like that at all. If I were a mouse in a library, I just wouldn't be chewing on books. I'd be reading them because I'm the kind of person who loves books, and I always felt happy in a library. So I thought to myself, that's kind of an idea for a story. What if I wrote a story about a mouse who lived in a library and he liked to read? And he was shy and didn't really care for the company of people, but he really liked to read books. And after he'd read and read and read all kinds of books, he was inspired to write one of his own. Now that's kind of my story too. That's the story of my life, because when I was a little kid I loved to read, and my dad read to me every night, and then as soon as I got big enough to read to myself, you couldn't get a book out of my hand. I always had something to read. So that's how I came up with the story for my first library mouse book. And it is called, appropriately, Library Mouse. And as you can see on the cover, Sam is standing on his pencil that says my name on it. And then he's also standing on a book which is about a cat. And you can see there he's holding his popsicle stick sword in his hand and wearing his little acorn hat helmet, and he's using his imagination. So that's what the cover of this book is all about, and the inside too. It's all about imagination. And Sam, I think, he's pretending that he has fought a cat. Now, I don't know if Sam has ever met a cat in real life, probably not. But here he is thinking that he's fighting that cat and he's won, and he's saying something like, "I am mighty Sam, and I have conquered the evil cat that's threatening our kingdom, and now I am the hero of the mice. And I will get to marry the mouse princess and be the king of the mice forever. Hooray for me!" Something like that. But that's the story of Sam. And on the back cover, you can see there he is saying, "Shh, don't tell anybody that I'm here." So this is a story that's meant to get you to be inspired about writing and telling your own stories, because Sam makes a little box that has a mirror in it so kids can look at that box and think, "Hey, I'm an author too. I've got stories to tell. I can write them and I can draw the pictures for them." And when you're a kid, it's really fun to do. You don't have to have a book with lots and lots of pages. You don't have to use paint. You can use pencil, you can use crayon, or whatever you have. And in my book, you see, here's a picture toward the end. Where's the picture? There it is. You can see all the little kids are sitting around a table drawing their own stories and telling them the way they'd like them to be told. And then maybe if they're lucky, they can put their books on the shelves too, just like Sam did. My second library mouse book was called A Friend's Tale. And this is a story about the way authors and illustrators work together. Now, I don't know if you know it or not, but authors and illustrators for books, they don't always get to meet each other. Very often they work through a third person who's called an editor. And the editor is sort of like a teacher. The editor's job is to help you make your book as good as it can be for both the writer and the illustrator. So very often it's the editor who gets the illustrator and the author and puts them together to work on a book. And in this case, I wanted to talk about that process by showing how Sam and his friend Tom get to work on a book project together and how they get to become friends that way. I decided to do another library mouse book, and this one's called A World to Explore. You can see what that looks like here. And in this book, Sam meets a friend whose name is Sarah. Now, when I was first talking to my editor about the story for this book, A World to Explore, and we were talking about whether it might be a good idea to have a mouse friend for Sam. And I thought maybe Sam would have a little brother or a cousin or somebody he could teach some things to about reading and writing. And my editor, Howard, said, "What if it was a girl mouse?" And I said, "Okay, that would be a good idea. I guess she can teach him a couple of things about writing and reading." And Howard said, "Well, maybe it would be a good idea if she teaches him something too." And I thought and thought about what Sam might not be good at, that he might need some help with, because he knows a lot about reading and writing. And I thought maybe Sam's kind of a shy guy in many different ways. He's not only shy of people, but maybe he's a little bit scared of some other things too. For instance, heights. And so this story is all about how Sarah helped Sam overcome his fear of heights and learn to take a few chances to have some fun, at the same time giving him some fun new things to write about. It's also about the subject of research, and Sam and Sarah do a lot of research in this book. Research is something that all kids have to use throughout their education in school, all the way from kindergarten up to 12th grade. So if you haven't done research yet, I guarantee you will, and hopefully that book will help you with that a little bit. I did another Library Mouse book, and this one is called A Museum Adventure. And this one didn't come out too long ago. This is all about Sam and Sarah taking a little research trip and leaving the museum and leaving their library rather, and going somewhere fun, which is a museum. Now they see all kinds of things in a museum. I remember when I was a little kid and I went to a museum, one of the things I was a little frustrated by were there weren't that many pictures of children in the museum. So I thought if I were a mouse and I went to a museum, I bet I'd get a little bit tired of looking at all those pictures of people, and maybe it would be fun to see some pictures of mice. So in this book, I took some famous paintings that you may be familiar with. Let's see if I can show them to you there. And I turned them into mice, so that the special friend that they meet at the museum, I won't tell you who that is, but they meet some special friends, and there's one of them is known as the artist because he loves to make paintings with mice in them, and he very often takes those famous paintings that everybody knows and loves and just turns them into pictures with mice instead. So those are the 4 Library Mouse books that I've done that you can buy. At the moment, I'm working on another Library Mouse book that has not come out yet. I'm just working on it now. I'm working on the paintings, and I've got to have them finished in a month. So it's going to be a really busy month for me. It takes me months and months to make the pictures for a book. But I'll show you the cover of the new book. The new Library Mouse book is going to be called Home Sweet Home. And in it, here you can see the cover here. I'll hold it up so you can see. Can you see that? There's Sam and Sarah. And Sam and Sarah are going to be making a new house all their own to live in. Some new houses, actually. A couple of different houses. When they have to leave the library because the library is going to be renovated, which means they're going to be taking all the shelves and the walls and the books and things out for a while so they can fix the library up and make it really nice. And Sam and Sarah find their way up to the attic and they decide to make some houses of their own just to see what it would be like. So they do some research on some books in the library and learn about architecture, which is the art of making buildings. And they make some houses up there that are just mouse size. So that's the book I'm working on next. And it won't be out until next fall, but I hope you get a chance to look at it when it comes out. So it looks like we're up to 7.5 minutes. I know I promised I'd be here for 5, so it looks like I'm running a little over time. I thought maybe I'd give you a Library Mouse song that I often do when I go to schools to do school visits. And it's a song about reading and writing. So let me get my guitar, and I'll end this little time that I'm spending with you today by singing a song. It goes like this. Anyone can be an author, I tell you it's true. Even dogs and cats and elephants have a story or two. But animal authors, there are only just a few. Most think reading and writing are too hard to do. That's why the bee says, who, me? And the cow says, how? And the fish says, I wish. And the ant says I can't. Sometimes it's hard to do something that you've never done. But if only you try, you might find writing is fun. Now there's a mouse who loves to read, to draw, and to write. He makes his very own books night after night. He's as smart as a fox, he's as gentle as a lamb. He's a library mouse and his name is Sam. Now if a mouse can be an author, then what about you? It seems to me a human being sure could do it too. So pick up your pencils and write what you know, and just like that you're ready to go. Soon Bill will say, I will. Brian will say, I'm trying. Dan will say, I can. And Trey will say, hooray. Sometimes it's hard to do something that you've never done. But if So there's a little bit about Library Mouse for you. I hope I've encouraged you all to do a little bit of reading and writing of your own. Pick up a pencil, pick up a paper, and see what stories you can tell. It could be a story about your pet, can be about your family, can be about your best friend, can be about something from your imagination. Whatever it is, it's fun to read and write. That's what I do for a living, and I know it's fun. So give it a try. Nice talking to you, kids, and have a good book fair. Bye-bye now.